Piglet's Poohetry is such an interesting episode of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is the first segment of the 8th and final episode of the 4th and final season, and I have to say I love the phrase Poohetry, really entertained me. And Piglet is delightful in this, and the entire episode, I think the entire episode, is told in rhyme. But Tigger is so annoying. Piglet has written a poem about flowers. He's written a poem called Ode to Flowers, and it's beautiful, and it's really lovely. But then Tigger decides that it's not a good poem, and he makes fun of it and comes up with his own rhyme that kind of mocks Piglet's poem, and I just thought, why are you doing this? And then Piglet writes another poem about being small, and he reads it to some of the others, Rabbit and Eeyore, and he takes big precautions to keep Tigger away. But as he reads the poem, we see Tigger writing his own poem that kind of counteracts Piglet's poem, and it goes back and forth throughout the whole episode. Honestly, it's a bit bizarre, but it works. I love poetry, and I think anything that's told in rhyme, particularly for young children, is very engaging, it's rhythmic, it's very pleasing to listen to. I always have fun with trying to guess what the next rhyme will be, and sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. And visually on screen, we see a representation of whatever the poets are saying, whether it's Piglet or Tigger, and it was good fun. It's a little bit different, and it's not going to be for everybody. Honestly, I think for me it wouldn't be for me, but I love Piglet. But Tigger annoyed me so much. Tigger used to be my favourite when I was growing up, and watching this, I just think, why? He's not very nice. He also said something quite nasty about Rabbit in the previous episode, so Tigger in the 4th season is not a very likeable character, but Piglet was adorable. It's very well written, the animation to go with the poems. It's really pleasing. Definitely something a little bit different, and I love the phrase Poohetry. Tigger referred to Piglet's poems as Poohetry, which is obviously poetry, that's poop. And I just think it's an absolutely brilliant term. I would never refer to somebody's poetry as poetry, because poems are very individual and very unique to the writer, and what's one person's idea of poetry might not be somebody else's. Obviously, having studied poetry at university, I know what to look for technically, but a poem doesn't have to be technically sound in order to be good or enjoyable. So I love the phrase Poohetry, but I wouldn't ever use it unless I was referring to my own, in which case I might do. Piglet's Poohetry is a very different episode, not a bad penultimate segment. Keen to see what the last one has in store.